Hi guys, Jane here, and today I'm doing a compare and contrast the movie Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies to the book Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. So I recently read the book last month for Austin August, and I did a rewatch of the movie. This was my second time watching it through. My first time watching it at home, the first time was at a theater, and I do like watching videos at home because you can put on the subtitles and sometimes catch dialogue a little bit easier. I will say sometimes the actors are not as easy to understand without the dialogue or without the subtitles on. And so I definitely got more out of this movie, I would say, the second time than I did the first time. I'm going to briefly give you my thoughts on what they're about and my general thoughts, and then we're going to go into a spoiler section. I am going to spoil a lot because I feel it's very hard to compare and contrast these without spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, just watch the first part of the video. So Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It takes the Pride, Prejudice story and characters and adds zombies. So Darcy and Elizabeth become zombie hunters. And that is true in both editions. I really enjoyed both. They are very different, and I was surprised at how different they were. Some books really closely, some movies really closely follow the book. This followed the book fairly closely for the first half and then went in a totally different direction in the second half. I liked both of them. I gave both 4 out of 5, somewhat for different reasons. And I do think it is worth seeing them either individually or experiencing them either individually or together. They both have really strong points and things that weren't necessarily so strong. The characters, I think, were more likable in Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. I thought that they were not quite as likable in the book, but they were in the movie. The movie is a little less over the top, but a little more tongue-in-cheek, where the book, especially when it comes to the violence, can be a little bit over the top and crazy. Both were fun, both were a good time. If you enjoy this kind of thing, a little bit of satire, humor, mixed with classic, I highly recommend. This is a 3-book series. I don't know of those 3 books what this covers because I've only read this book. So I'm only doing a comparison between these two and not this versus the entire series. But I did highly enjoy them. So I'm going to go ahead now and go into some spoilers of ways that I felt like these were different and if that was good or bad or maybe a little both. All right, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So I mentioned that I liked the characters in the Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies movie a little bit more than the book. One thing I will say about the book version of the characters is they are a lot more... cruel may not be the right word. They are more cutthroat, they are more murderous, they are more... Elizabeth, for instance, when people insult her or her family, she wants to go kill them. And that's just not the case to that same level with Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, the movie. The characters don't have that over-the-top bloodlust, lack of respect for life that I felt they did in the book. It was one thing that was a bit of a turnoff in the book for me, particularly because at the end of the book, when Wickham goes off and marries Lydia, they basically beat Wickham until he's an invalid. And that is what they feel is proper punishment for him for running off with with Lydia. And I didn't love that. It kind of bothered me that we're kind of taught that they are being trained to be almost ninjas. And as a matter of fact, in one scene, Elizabeth murders 6 ninjas, and we're just supposed to be fine with her killing all these people. And again, taken as a satire, we're not going to take it too seriously, but it did bother me a little, the absolute lack of respect for life in this book, other than your own people. Obviously, Elizabeth is protective of her sisters in both, but in this book, there was just an absolute lack of respect for the sanctity of life at all. And so I do think that was done better in the movie, where the characters were not so heartless and kind of like, I don't want to use the word terrible, but they were not good people in the book, and I really had some problem with their morality. Not in a sexual way, but just in a, it's not okay to just murder people because they say a nasty thing about your sister. So I thought that was better done in the movie than the book. The plots of these actually are quite different. So in the end, particularly, in the beginning, they're fairly the same. And then in this one, there's a subplot that is really interesting. So with Wickham is the big difference, I think, in both books. Wickham in this one, he is not just a scoundrel trying to get money who runs off with Elizabeth's sister, such as in the original text. So in the book, he runs off with Elizabeth's sister to get money from Darcy. And he ruins her, and then they force a marriage so that he gets money and gets beat up. In this one, Wickham's side thing is he is trying to keep zombies from turning full-on zombie by feeding them pig's brains because he has been bitten. And he is trying to find a way for zombies to live in society, which is an idea he presents to Lady Catherine, who kind of laughs it off like, that's not possible. And Darcy kind of does a dick move and feeds real brains to the zombies because Wickham had been trying to become a zombie leader by feeding them pig brains and then teaching them they could keep some of their humanity, which of course for zombie hunters is not cool. The zombies in these two works are very different too. The zombies are a lot less human in the book versus in the movie. In the movie, they still have a lot of conscious thought, enough to the point of being able to set traps and things like that. They are more like infected humans than dead things alive. Whereas in the book, we have a side plot of her friend, Charlotte, of Elizabeth's friend Charlotte, who has been bitten and is slowly becoming a zombie. That doesn't happen at all in the movie. There is no indication of that in the movie at all. But in the book, Charlotte is bitten and is slowly becoming a zombie, and we're seeing her be less and less and less human as she transforms, but Elizabeth doesn't want to kill her because it's her friend. And even though people around her are realizing she's less human because she's having trouble talking and using silverware and acting crazy, they're not killing her because that's their friend. I think they do eventually have to behead her because she full on becomes a zombie. But it's such a different style. In these, the zombies are very lifelike. In these, the zombies are very dead. But on the other hand, the people in this are much better, and the people in this are kind of awful. The humor level was about the same. I do feel like the book was a lot more over the top than the movie. The book very much follows closely to the classic. While zombies are added, it is not a huge deviation. In the movie, especially once you get to the midpoint, it's not even the same story. It's just a retelling with the same characters. The second half of the movie is basically Wickham has kidnapped Lydia. They are trying to blow up a bridge that'll keep the zombies out forever that Bingley has to do with, because Bingley, he's a real fighter. He's got to go and do the command to do the bridge, but Darcy is gone to go rescue Lydia. And Elizabeth has gone after him, and of course they're trying to do this all before the bridge comes down. Also, this is part of a 3-book trilogy, and I've not read the other books, but I'm wondering if some of the stuff that happens with St. Lazarus, which is what Wickham is involved in that I was mentioning, if that is in this book or in the later books in some version, or if all the London stuff and the things we get about them trying to keep the zombies out, if that's just the movie or if that's in the other books and I just haven't read them and don't know. But I am curious about that because there is a lot of stuff about how London is handling the attacks that wasn't necessarily in this book. Another thing that's neat in the movie is Darcy has a very cool way of finding zombies. In the book, if you're a zombie and fully turned, it's pretty obvious. In the movie, though, it's not. People are, like I said, so high functioning, you wouldn't even necessarily know they're zombies, except that they crave brains and want to eat you. And so he has these flies, these carrion flies, and he keeps them in a little bottle, and he uncorks the bottle, and if they land on you, you are literally rotting flesh. So I thought that was pretty brilliant, and I had a really good time with the subplot and everything on here. This also has a much more traditional horror movie ending, where we are at the wedding of Darcy and Elizabeth and Bingley and Jane, and suddenly the zombie horde is about to come and eat everybody. So I absolutely loved the way this ended. It was very more classic horror. This was more the typical ending. I don't remember exactly how it ended, but it didn't do anything like mind-boggling. I know in the second book, or I guess in the final book, the one after this, Darcy has been bitten and we're trying to save him. Elizabeth is trying to save him, maybe. But yeah, they're very different products, and I enjoyed both of them, though for slightly different reasons. This one's more over the top. This one, the zombies are more dead, which I did like. The characters are a little more cutthroat, which I didn't like. This is also a lot more graphic. This has a lot different of a plot and deviates more from Austen's original work, like significantly. This one also has more human zombies, which I kind of didn't love and felt a little uncomfortable with, because it's like, oh, you're a zombie, but you're still like sentient. You're not dead. You're not a monster. I mean, we're basically like, oh, you got bit. We're going to chop off your head. And I'm like, I'm not necessarily okay with that. But the characters didn't just go like, you have offended me, I'm going to kill 10 people. So, yeah. In the book, the sisters got a little bit more time than in the movie. In the movie, really, Jane and Elizabeth are the only ones that play any kind of role. In this, the younger sisters, in the book, younger sisters do have a little bit more page time, as in the original Austen novel. So yes, these are very different, both good, somewhat for different reasons, both funny. The book, I would say, is a little more over the top. This is more of a satire that knows it's a satire, I would say, and it was done very well. I do recommend highly both of them. They were both 4 out of 5s for me, and I really enjoyed. All right, guys, if you have read or watched, please feel free to leave any thoughts you have. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not yet subscribed and would like more content, please subscribe now. My social media is below if you would like to connect with me. And also, just for your information, I'm a romance writer. I have books available on Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Smashwords, Amazon, basically where books are sold. So if you enjoy romance, particularly historical romance, please give my books a check. They're under Jane B. Knight. I do have some nonfiction under just Jane Knight, but the fiction, the romance is all Jane B. Knight. All right, guys, this is Jane. See you next time. Bye.